Today, we are very honored to have Mr. Jens Peter Brauner from Siemens Mobility to give a talk. He's the CEO of Siemens Mobility. Peter is an expert in transportation for 30 years. He has degrees in electrical engineering and economic psychology. And because of him, technology and people belong together, especially when it comes to digital transformation and the application of AI. By living and working through Europe, America, and Asia, he became passionate about diversity and leveraging cultural synergies for the development of disruptive innovations. He's currently the CEO of Siemens Mobility, and then is working with his team and local partners to turn Hong Kong into a smart city. I think we are very honored indeed to have Peter joining us. With that, by the way, this talk is organized jointly by the School of Engineering and the Great Smart City Institute. We jointly co-organized this seminar. With that, let me turn the time to Peter.
All right, thank you very much for this kind introduction. Thank you, Professor Lowe. It's really an honor for me to talk to you, because I mean, the topic I want to talk about is a combination of digitalization and sustainability, because for us it belongs together. And in particular, I like to talk to you at the HKUST, because you are the most prominent university in Hong Kong when it comes to our topics, technology and the purpose of technology. And so it's not only an honor, it's also a pleasure actually to talk to you. And I put some slides together to, first of all, to show you what is really the future about. I mean, I will focus then a little bit more on mobility later on, which is all about transportation, to get you closer to the topic and what the intention is that we as a company that we want to achieve. And then I will, because you are close to technology, I will bring you a little bit closer to our portfolio and how the portfolio is contributing to sustainability. But not only technology, I also would like to talk about people. And at the end, I mean, technology is one thing, of course, and Siemens, we are really a tech company. But at the end, what we have learned, it's all about people. Not only those who are inventing technology or solutions, but also those who are using technology. And we should always have the end user, or for me, it's a passenger or the customer on mind. And I will tell you a little bit how we do this, how we bring our technology close to people and do this kind of co-creation. And I have a lot of use cases with me, so I want to tell you some stories what we have also experienced in Hong Kong over the last years, and then at the end we will have time for questions and answers. So I hope then to get a lot of questions, because I learn most from your questions and later on and can respond to this. And yeah, and before I jump into the topics, Vivian, let's please start with a video. So to give you some ideas what our topics are about, please, the video.
The possibilities of worldwide mobility have brought prosperity and peace to countless people all over the world. But our world is constantly changing. And new, sometimes completely unexpected challenges are emerging. Even though the COVID-19 pandemic has shown that our way of traveling isn't always a given, the need for safe, reliable, and efficient transportation is growing substantially. Global passenger movement on urban rail alone will almost triple by 2050. But there's yet another challenge, and it is the most pressing one. climate change has a tight grip on our world, with increasingly dramatic consequences. To mitigate this development, we need to work together. And all of us must do our part. Business as usual is not an option. We need to meet the growing demand for mobility in a sustainable manner. There's a lot that we're already doing. We build energy-efficient rolling stock, powered by renewable energy. We utilize the benefits of digitalization to boost the capacity of existing infrastructures, help to extend the life cycle of assets, and make eco-economic rail operation a reality. We help cities to reclaim their mobility systems and integrate different modes of transportation that enable seamless and sustainable end-to-end journeys. We enable demand-responsive public transport from door to door, within cities, and between them. We support our customers in reducing their ecological footprint to make public transport carbon neutral. And it doesn't stop here. We always give our best and continue to learn and grow better. We want to become the industry benchmark in sustainability. We want to become climate neutral before 2030. We want to achieve long-term growth while balancing profit, people, and the planet.
Yes, here we go. Thank you very much. So now let me talk about this, what we have seen already, this global mega trends and how that will shape our lives or change our lives in the coming decades. And I believe it's really important that we all have this picture in mind, because I mean, most of you are the students. So for me, I mean, you are the generation now who is really dealing with this situation that we are facing over the next 20 to 30 years. You will become the leaders in the future, and you are working on solutions to tackle these challenges here. And this is not always a challenge. There are also a lot of opportunities. Just think of digitalization. This is not about computers anymore, it's about data. And this is why we put in here by 2025, the digital universe will reach 175 zettabytes. So this is a number we could not think of whatever a few years ago, but that is all happening. So demographic change. So the Earth population will increase. I mean, from currently 7.7 billion to almost 10 billion by 2050, which is in only, whatever, less than 30 years. Then climate change. And that is one of the most pressing topics. We all know there is a climate change ongoing. It is man-made. There is scientific evidence for that. And it is predicted that this average global temperature will increase by 2 degrees, which is for many cities, for many countries, really a problem. It's not only for those close to coastal areas like we in Hong Kong, but also for many others. And we all know that it's a target, a global commitment to limit this temperature increase to 1.5 degree, but that is not a given. So there we need to do a lot to make this happen. And we hope that with transportation that we can do our share, our contribution, and then I will talk about more about that. And urbanization. I mean, next to demographic change, this is also what is happening is that much more people will move into the cities. So by now we have 55–60% living in cities. By 2050, it will be 70%. So there is a trend that people are moving to the cities. And if you now combine these two numbers from demographic change and urbanization, so take this 55% of people living in cities now, multiply by 7.7 billion people, then you will say, okay, there are 4 billion people living in cities. But now 70% times almost 10 billion in 2050 tells us there will be 7 billion people living in cities. So from 4 billion to 7 billion. So that shows us how dramatic this change is, especially for cities. And finally, globalization. So those people in cities, they still want to travel from city to city, from continent to continent. There's a lot of goods and cargo being shipped around the world, and this will not stop. This will increase up to 50%. So these are the challenges. And if we go to the next page, please, that we are facing. And let me go a little bit deeper to the challenges for mobility, for the transportation world, because transportation is a big contributor to the greenhouse gas emission. We just have seen on the previous slide, there are 70% of the world population will live in cities. So this is a big challenge for what we call nowadays smart cities, but it's not just a saying. So we really need solutions to tackle with this. And for us, in our industry, it's all about automation. So automation in many ways. It can be autonomous driving. It can be a higher degree of automation in the operation control centers in all of the cities. And also a higher degree of automation in how we plan our trips as an individual. So, but I will come to this later when we talk about portfolio. And then also true, people will travel more. I mean, the prediction is that the people will travel by 3 times more in 2050 than they do now. And just think of the Greater Bay Area. I mean, Hong Kong is part of a giga cluster, and there will be much more travel among all of the cities in the future. And this is why we believe Hong Kong is really at the sweet spot now of becoming a smart city, because we can apply most of these technologies here to support then the greater area. So, and then I said this already, more than 30% of the global energy demand comes from the transportation sector. At the same time, 25% of the greenhouse gases emission are from transportation sector. So you can ask, why not 30%? Because already for 5%, we can already claim that transport is energized by green energy, because electrification is a big driver. And then if we power the electric trains, electric cars, if we power them with green energy, then we already have a contribution. And you can see there's already a 5% advantage for transportation. Yes, so in 2050, which is not far from now, we will then witness a situation, but we need to start now to do something against this, let's say, dramatic outlook in terms of turning it to the better. So if you go to the next slide, I would like to look a little bit more into some what I would call KPIs, what needs to be done. So of course I'm getting now more and more to the mobility topic. So the biggest challenge is really to manage this transformation. And it's not just a transformation, it is actually a disruption of many of the ways of living, ways of transport that we are used to. And we do see this already in the beginning, but it will be much more than important and implemented than over the time. So today we talk about reduction of emissions. The carbon emissions need to be reduced by half in this decade in order to achieve net zero by 2050. So we cannot just wait for 2050. So there are already targets to have an intermediate milestone, and this is different from country to country and even from company to company. So as Siemens, as a global company, we set ourselves a target to be net zero by 2030. So to set an example, and we have our plans in place now in order to achieve this. But it's important that we measure this and in order to achieve this. So, and then at the center here, electric or electrified mobility. For us, the answer to a carbon emission reduction is going electric. So what our slogan, our motto is: the future of mobility will be fully autonomous, fully electric, and shared. So, and this all three are disruptions in itself, and put them all together, then you know what mobility is about in the future. And that are the contributors to this net zero target. So, and here the number under electric mobility is telling us that the number of electric vehicles shall grow by 25%, not from now to 2030, but year after year, 25% year after year. So in order to get there and to make a contribution to this net zero target. And then also true, we need to find net zero alternatives. Shift to zero emission, such electrification is a must. So we cannot just do business as usual. There will be dramatic changes for societies, for companies, for individuals in order to contribute and to achieve this target. Okay, let me now come to the next slide and bring you a little bit closer to Siemens. I want to take this opportunity also to promote my company, because we are in desperate need of talents like you, the students of HKUST and other universities, of course. And let me share a secret with you. It's an open secret, I have to say. No, stay please with the previous. The Siemens previous slide, please. Yes, so otherwise I cannot share my secret with you. And the secret is, I mean, many people, when people ask me what is your employer, who are you working for? And I say, yeah, it's Siemens. And they say, oh yes, I have a washing machine from Siemens and I'm happy with that. And then I have to say, sorry, but we are not doing washing machines anymore. It's only our brand name on the washing machine, but that is done by Bosch, another good German company. But Siemens is not in what we call end consumer business. So we are not doing home appliances, washing machines, smartphones. This is not our business anymore. Siemens is in B2B, business to business, and B2 business to government. So, and here in Hong Kong, I can say, because we are focusing on transport, we are working with MTR. We have big projects with MTR, but also working with government, the transportation department, many other departments to turn Hong Kong into a smart city. So that is a new Siemens. So Siemens is an IT company with an industrial background. So don't compare us to Microsoft or the really pure software companies. That's not us. Most of Siemens people, experts, are still engineers. We have our feet on the ground. We know everything about the systems that they're implemented, but we are digitizing them now. So we're putting all the sensors in and we connect them to the cloud. We do data analytics, we apply AI. And not many people know that Siemens is one of the top 10 software developing companies in the world, but not for end consumer software business. It is really for industrial software. And here we have a very strong footprint, and we are looking for people who can support us in this transformation. So also Siemens is in a transformation. We are more than 170 years old, but brand new, like a startup when it comes to latest technologies. So, and we do this transformation every day as a company, but also to transform societies and to have everybody to get to the future. So, and for us, digitalization is a big topic, but it's not just for the sake of digitalization. It is for a purpose. And the purpose is sustainability. So we apply latest technologies to achieve our sustainability targets. And that is a purpose many people can really resonate with. And that is a very strong argument to really join the mobility industry with all what you are learning now at the university, future technologies. Please apply this to really something purposeful. And with transportation, we have, I guess, the right topics to work on. So I try to motivate you to look after the mobility topics, to apply your knowledge. Yeah, now we can go to the next page, because talking about the digital world, because for us, yes, it's on one hand, we talk a lot about digitalization, but on the other hand, there's a real world. And what our dream is as a company, we wanna really combine these two worlds, the real world and the digital world. And how do we do this? I mean, it was probably Siemens who invented this idea of a digital twin. So all of our systems that we are developing, the industries that we are supporting, we now offer a digital twin of the real world solutions. So you can see a lot of different industries, from automotive over data centers, food and beverage, aerospace, factories, mining industry, energy generation, science, and so on. But then also at the bottom, at the center, you see my mobility part, and that is what we do. So we bring digital technologies to the real world by digitizing systems that either that are already implemented, and then we can do this on top, or if it's about new systems that we bring to the field, they are prepared for cloud computing right from the beginning. And then I will later introduce to you our data analytics platform, because it's all about open platform economy, and there we develop our apps and analytics to really generate value out of data. So, and this is a petabyte of data every day that we are processing, and this gives insights about the systems, and that gives us the opportunity to optimize systems in order to save energy and to make it more sustainable. So I will then explain to you in a minute how we do this in more detail. But before we get there, let's switch to the next slide, because I was talking about purpose, and you all know, I mean, nowadays there is a big, the big three letters are ESG: environment, social, governance. And we as Siemens, we took this ESG and we turned this into our what we call degree framework. So degree is an acronym, and it consists of these letters that you can see around this globe, and that is our framework, our set of values that unites us at Siemens, and we are really all working along these lines towards these targets, which is decarbonization. And I was talking about this 1.5 degree target already, and we want to make our contribution. But it's also about ethics. So a culture of trust, to adhere to ethical standards. That means a lot to us, and this is a challenge. Not every country, every society is there, but we are running very fast into topics where also engineers have to answer ethical questions. Autonomous driving is one of them. So, but also we are talking about ethical AI. So AI is a big trend. We all know this, but there can be also many things can go wrong with AI, and we need to make sure that AI is not biased, that AI is, let's say, really contributing in a good way, artificial intelligence, and that are ethical questions that engineers have to answer in the future. So therefore, we emphasize on that. Governance, the same thing. I mean, we have our governance framework. We apply state-of-the-art systems to be responsible in whatever we do with our conduct guidelines. Then resource efficiency. Here we're not only looking at how we deal with our resources that we are using as a company. We extend this into our supply chain, but also into the customer life cycle about our products. So to make sure that our products, after the life cycle ends, can be recycled to 90% or more. So this is an important contributor. Then equity. This is how we treat our people and how we want to be treated also by others. It's all about diversity, it's inclusion, it is community development. So just to give you an example, here in Hong Kong, we do a lot also with communities, not only beach cleaning events, but also helping the students to get more familiar to the corporations and corporate worlds. We have a lot of summer students, also summer interns, and you are invited to join us on this journey. And finally, employability. We are in a war for talent, I can tell you. It's not easy to get data scientists these days. But I believe with a good package and with the right purpose, we are probably one of the employers of choice, and that is where we want to be and where we need to go. Yes, so thank you for this opportunity. I was just sharing this with you because it's really important that you know as an employee for what company you're working and whether the set of values is also resonating with your own values, and then you're motivated to go to work every day. Even if it's not easy like these days. But this is something I would like to share with you. So therefore this slide. Okay, and now let's jump to more to the technical topics. The next slide, because I want to focus on our portfolio. And again, I will start with why. The why. So why are we doing all of this? And like many other companies, we took the development goals from the United Nations, and as mobility, we are not focusing on all of them, but you can see here the top 4. So and this is leading us in what we do, because we want to have an impact on societies, and the sustainability development goals of the United Nations is a good framework for this. And we're working along of these targets with our suppliers and with our customers. So it is about industry, innovation, infrastructure, of course. We are, I would say, one of the drivers, and push for innovation. It's about sustainable cities and communities. So mobility is a big contributor to it. And it's about responsibility. I just mentioned this, and how we consume energy and how we turn this into products. And finally, it's about climate action. So through our corporate citizen activities and community engagement, I guess we can do the little bit of an extra. And I hope that makes a difference at the end. So then we can go to the next slide, and I will introduce you to our portfolio. So mobility for us consists basically on 2 big, let's say, clusters. One is the infrastructure, which is everything about road and rail solutions infrastructure. That is a part that you typically cannot see, because our technology, our computers, our systems are hidden somewhere in MTRs, station equipment rooms, or in governmental control centers. So typically you don't see these products, but they are there. And they are there for a reason, because those products, they support the daily operation and make the operation safe and secure. And that is our purpose. So rail infrastructure is all about automation, high degree of automation, electrification, so that we can power the trains and the cars, but also about intermodal solutions. So this is focusing on passengers. So we really want to bring more passengers onto public transport. In Hong Kong, it is already a very high number, 90% plus. people are using public transport to go from A to B. But in many other countries, it's not the case. There is the prevailing still is individual traffic. And here we want to help the people to plan their journey and to make it much more convenient for them to get from A to B in a more flexible way. And here later I can show you some products that we are introducing, which is supporting this. Turnkey projects, I don't want to focus too much on this. This is really for countries in a let's say greenfield situation where they want to build a complete new line from A to B. We just got a very big contract in Egypt, more than $3 billion US, because Egypt is transforming their entire country, and they're emphasizing on transport. So they will build a complete new line, complete new network from the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, connecting their new future capital also to this. And that is a big project. And by that, they will really leverage or push their entire country to the future. And they decided to go with us, which we're happy, of course, about. But that is a big turnkey project for us, which includes everything from infrastructure, rolling stock, and we will make this happen in a very few years only. So, and then what you can see more if you look at transportation is what we call the rolling stock. These are the trains and the metro trains and the light rail trains and the locomotives and so on. This is also part of Siemens Mobility. And I have some more insights about that on the next slide. But also a big important part is service, so maintenance. So we are not only putting this into place, like with a project, we hand over to the customer. We are also helping the customer in the maintenance of the system. And this is more and more important because that is a space where digital solutions come into place. Because once we are handing over the systems, the operators are operating this, and then by that they are generating data in real time, big data actually, and we are collecting the data and we are analyzing the data, and that is what we call digital twin. The operator will get then a real time idea about the current system status, and even more, we can predict the behavior of a system in the future based on data. So this is helping them to achieve 100% availability target, which is the gold standard in the industry. And on the same time, they can reduce their maintenance cost because they don't need to do maintenance on a regular schedule. They can really wait until our systems are telling them, no, you have to replace something because in 2-3 days from now it will break. So that is the best possible utilization of assets, which is also helping the sustainability target because they don't need to waste material. So, and finally then intelligent traffic systems. These are our solutions for the road. Siemens just decided to carve out this business because it is a very special segment. But by now we are still 100% owning this business, but this will be then transferred into a new ownership very soon to support them even more in what they do. But I still have some examples to share with you, or what we did here in this case to help also the road traffic side. Okay, with that, I can give you some more insights about trains and rolling stock, because this is where all the energy is consumed. Maybe on the next page. Yes, thank you. So here you have some pictures about state-of-the-art and energy efficient rolling stock. Starting from the left, this is the Velaro, our high-speed train. By now it is in the 5th generation. So we started 30 years ago with high-speed trains, and this is the latest now, the latest and greatest. And you can see from the KPIs here, 30% less energy consumption, and that is a big breakthrough. And this is one of the contributors to sustainability. 1.3 tons carbon emission per train and year, which is a lot. and even from the investment side, 20% less investment. So this is one of our best-selling products, because in many countries we introduced this train platform and operating this, even under very harsh conditions in winter and in summer. So it's a very reliable thing as well. And then at the center, locomotives. I mean, while high-speed trains is all about passenger transport, locomotives very often is about cargo. We don't have this in Hong Kong. I mean, we have high speed with the Kowloon, West Kowloon terminal, and the connection now to China high-speed network. So we have high-speed trains in Hong Kong, but we don't have many cargo trains actually, because of the region and the location. But in other countries, it is really important also to electrify these locomotives. Many of the cargo lines, they don't have overhead lines, no catenary where the power comes from. So those locomotives were powered by diesel engines, which was a big emission of greenhouse gases, and we want to reduce this. So, and therefore we are introducing new technologies, and can save a lot of energy as well by having this dual fitted electric and diesel combined, and in the future with battery or with hydrogen, what we can see on the right hand side. So that is our platform, our Mireo platform for regional trains. And here, first time ever, we applied 2 different modes of power supply. One is hydrogen based, which has its space in the future of energy supply, but also the other one is also a battery powered trains, so they can save the energy for those lines which are not under catenary. Here on that picture, you can actually see the overhead lines, so the power is coming from the grid. But in those lines, more than in the remote areas where you don't have this, then you still can go electric by having batteries on the train, or using hydrogen. So here you can see these are our innovation showcases, where we put a lot of data, but also a lot of future concepts into the platform to achieve this reduction targets. Okay, then let's go to the next one. Yes, and I want to look a little bit more into life cycle management. I mentioned this before when I was talking about service or maintenance business, but actually this is the biggest topic now for many operators. In previous years, they were looking into, okay, where can I get the cheapest locomotive? But from a purchase point of view. So, but now the question is, how much money do I need to pay over the entire life cycle? So it's about total cost of ownership. It's about life cycle cost optimization. And suddenly it doesn't matter who has the cheapest locomotive. It matters also how much energy do I consume, and how versatile is the train or the locomotive in their operations, and how available is it. And you may be familiar with the concept of availability. And the big driver for availability is the reliability of a system, which goes into hardware and redundancy, but also the maintainability. So if you have a breakdown, but if you can fix this in a very short period of time, then you can increase the availability of the entire system. And you can only do this if you can predict the breakdown or the whatever part replacement. And this is what we do by digital means. So we have a lot of sensors on board of these trains and locomotives. And then we do this kind of sensor fusion. So we combine different sensor data, and then we are analyzing this data and make predictions and tell the operator, look, in 2 days from now, you need to replace a gearbox or a wheel set or whatever it is, what we analyze. And then they can schedule this maintenance, do it overnight, and bringing the train or the locomotive back into service without a breakdown. 100% availability, no issue for the passengers, no waiting times. And that is what they're looking for. And that is what we aim for as a supplier, to develop these solutions and to put this into our systems, so that we can achieve this 100% availability target, and in the same time reduce the energy consumption by a higher degree of automation, up to autonomous driving. I mean, some of the trains in Hong Kong are already autonomous, so we don't need a driver anymore. There are still people on board from MTR, but more to witness. And the same for locomotives, and the same for cars and buses in the future. So this will all go autonomous and will help to improve the efficiency. Because you may agree that humans are not the most efficient drivers. I mean, with a high degree of automation, we can achieve more energy saving because only autonomous systems are able to deal with this, let's say, complexity of data. Yes. So, and by that, we apply our digital twin to support the entire life cycle and get the best out of it, the optimum. Okay, now let's look with the next page how we enable this. And we are getting now closer and closer to the real thing, to the topics. And I want to give you some examples so that you better understand how that works in reality. So let's start with digital signaling. We call it signaling. Maybe you're not familiar with this term, but you can see on this picture on the top left, there is a signal with these two green signals on top of it. And that is what we had in the railways for the last, 150 years. So in future, we don't need signals anymore because we are transmitting the signal aspect over radio into a computer on the train. And then the driver is only looking at the display and not anymore on the signals, because under high speed, in a high speed situation, when the train is going at 350 kilometers per hour, you cannot wait for signals anymore. The driver is not able to capture the signal aspect if you are so fast. So therefore, we put all of this data that the driver needs to know on the display, and he's only watching the display, nothing else. So that is signaling. And here we have a lot of computer power at work to support a safe operation, just to make sure that a train driver is not doing something crazy or unexpected. The system will stop them from doing so. And here we are now in a transformation. We were using computers for that for the last 30 years. Actually, I began my career 30 years back in Siemens. I was in R&D, research and development, for safe computer systems. And now this kind of transformation is happening again by applying cloud computing and artificial intelligence. So there's another revolution in this, which is much more data driven. Still, we're using computers, but it's more about data than about changing the hardware. So, and that holds true even more for what we have on the top right, automated train operation. I mentioned this before. We can only improve the efficiency and reduce cost if we give more and more responsibility to the computer. So we still want to have people on board. I mean, operational people, because it might be more convenient for the passengers to have somebody they can talk to. But to run a train most efficiently, we really apply autonomous concepts and introducing this more and more to different operators around the world. MTR is one of them. So, and then on the bottom left, if we look more into the material part, there is a lot of material science at work as well, not only data. But here we are talking about additive manufacturing. This is all about 3D printing. And this is very advanced now. So we can even mix whatever plastic with metals by printing parts. And we have this 3D printing centers around the world. So in previous years, when something was breaking down, then a customer was asking for a spare part, and then it took us a while to produce this in the factory, to ship this around the world, and finally received the spare part and could do the maintenance. So what we do now is, with this improved, let's say, manufacturing, additive manufacturing, we have this 3D printers around the world. And if something breaks down, we just send the order to the printer to print a 3D spare part, which can be then shipped overnight back to where the operator is, and then we do the replacement on the next day. So this saves a lot of carbon dioxide for not only for the production, but also for the transport of spare parts, and it's cutting down the maintenance cycles. And here is much more space for improvements, and we are just at the beginning. But I'm mentioning this because many people were asking us, what is 3D printing about? And I can tell you this is a very hot topic. Even for parts which are under immense mechanical stress. So we have very good examples for that. And finally, a very, let's say, outlook into the future. We have a pilot for this in Germany and another one in the US. We want to electrify trucking. So, and how do we do this? By putting catenary system overhead lines, like on this picture, along the highway. And then the truck is getting a pantograph. This is where it connects then to the catenary, to the overhead line, and is then, while he is running along the highway, is getting the energy from this overhead lines. So no combustion engine at work, no emissions, only purely electrical. And then once he is then leaving the highway, going to his destination, the last mile, then he can use batteries that he has, or if he need to, then a diesel engine for the last mile. But that is a very big contributor to greenhouse gases emission reduction, and it is under implementation now. So I was thinking for Hong Kong, I mean, because we have the seaport here, and then we have what we call the hinterland. So there are many trucks running in Hong Kong, bringing all of the containers to other places. And if we think of the connection to the Greater Bay, then the bridge to Zhuhai would be perfect for this, right? Just put these lines in, run the trucks electrically, and have a lot of savings from the greenhouse gases, just to give you an idea how that could be applied to Hong Kong. So I hope to find this in the next policy address. So let's see. Okay, then let's go to the next slide. One more example, because many of you are in data science, and I want to present to you an example here where we are breaking data silos. So you may be familiar with the term. In previous years, there were, I mean, computers are everywhere, but most of the data have been siloed in a server. So, and then there was one system for ERP, enterprise resource management, another system for asset maintenance, another system for, I don't know, people management, HR systems. So, and what we do now, since we have cloud-based solutions on hand, we break down data silos and we combine all of this data into what we call data lakes. You have heard about data lakes. So suddenly you have data on hand, which you can combine. You can do data fusion. And with that, we can create completely new solutions. And that is something I really count on you and also your university, so that you bring these ideas to the industry, because here we are really talking about latest technologies. And what we do in this example, we call it energy optimized operation. We just combine two systems which have been separate before. One is the safe operation of trains. So there are timetables, and then the train is running automatically along the timetable and along the operational rules. And there was a completely different system which was powering the trains. So the energy grid. And in those systems, they were not talking to each other. But what we do now is, to improve the efficiency, we combine these two systems. So we are sensing the energy consumption in real time and combining this with the timetable management. And by that, we can influence the train schedule. And it doesn't need to be much. We can just tell the train, and think of Hong Kong, for example. We have a train every 90 seconds or every 2 minutes. So there are many trains along the track. If all of these trains start and stop in the same time to go from station to station, then you have a lot of energy peak consumption on the grid. And then the train are recuperating, sending the energy back into the grid again. There's then a peak. back feeding into the grid. So this is a lot of stress for a grid provider. And if we now combine this energy consumption and energy sensing, if we combine this with how we run the trains automatically, you can imagine that you just need to accelerate or to defer a little bit the schedule of a single train, and suddenly you can avoid this peaks on the grid, which is saving a lot of energy and cost. And this is just a small example how we combine different data into a more intelligent solution. Okay, I could talk about that for hours, but I need to move on. And I just want to give you an idea what data fusion can do. And there is a lot of energy saving potential, which we want to, of course, apply then to the systems. So now I was talking already about big data analytic platforms. So to be clear, Siemens is not a cloud provider. So we are using cloud providers like AWS or Ali Cloud or Azure from you know all of them. So we are cloud agnostic. We are not a cloud provider, but we are working on top of a cloud with our data analytics platforms. So in our mobility domain, we call this Railigent. So this is you can say a layer on top of a cloud provider where we are then processing the data. So the cloud provider is storing the data for us. And then with Railigent, with this platform, we are processing the data. So if we go from left to right, then of course it starts with data capturing. So this is where the real systems are. Infrastructure, but also trains. So we have all of the sensors and not only the physical sensors, and then the data transmission can be over wireless solutions, can be 5G, can be whatever you like. But important is that we also have a security layer on it. So we make sure that nobody can go from the outside, from the internet, into the systems at the ground. So this is there's no way for intrusion, but we are sending the data out of the physical space into the cloud by the means of data security. So this is what we call the data transmission. This Mind Connect Rail connectivity toolbox, which is a secure solution certified to the highest security levels. So you could also use it for a nuclear plant or for other things. And with that, we ensure that this data are not manipulated and that they're real and not abused in a way. So, and then we are processing the data on our data analytics platform with all of the state-of-the-art concepts under the hood, and all the Apache, Kafka, and so on, data streaming. This is all at work here. But what we did is we developed a layer which is really supporting rail-specific data. And this is different from, let's say, factory automation or from hospitals or from other industries, because the rail industry is really processing real-time data, time series data, if you like, in a much faster way than other industries do. And this is a challenge not many companies can deal with, but we found a solution. We started very early, and we have a solution now which is very powerful. And with that, we process the data and turn this into insights. So this is what this is what our customers are really looking for. This is on what you see on the right-hand side. So there are people, they want to optimize their assets. There are people, they want to optimize the operation so that we have a higher throughput. What we claim is that we can increase the throughput of trains, so more trains per hour, without changing anything in the infrastructure, just by having a higher degree of automation and making also more predictions about how many people will come into a station, into a platform in a typical situation, and how does it change with the black rain warning in Hong Kong or Chinese New Year, or so there are different scenarios, and we are predicting how many people will use the system and adapting then the operations. And this is also based on data. And finally, what I mentioned already for the maintainer, they need to know when do they need to replace a part of the system and not just on a regular schedule. That is a waste of energy and material. So we make predictions about our systems, and these predictions are so accurate that maintainers can rely on it. Yeah, so that is what we do, how we generate benefit based on data analytics. And I also need to mention, it's not just that we have the solution from Siemens and we tell the customer take it or leave it. What we do here is, and that is what everybody calls now platform economics. So we provide what we call open platform. So we invite other parties to develop apps like this data evaluation, to develop apps on top of Railigent, on top of our platform. So with the platform, we are providing all of this data. So there are real-time, there are data cleansing was already done, which is 80% of data science is data cleansing or even more. So this is done by Railigent. So you can really use this data and build apps from this. And we are inviting other companies actually to do so. And we also tell our customers, you can invite other parties of doing so. So if you as a student, if you dream of a startup, then look into Railigent. You can run your business based on data, and with Railigent, you have a very reliable database in doing so, and then you can generate added value to operators around the world based on this data set. So that is the idea. It's open, so it's not a lock into Siemens, and we have many of our competitors actually are working on our platform here and generating value based on data for their customers. So it's a de facto standard in the rail industry by now. All right, now let me come to a completely different topic. And Vivian, you have to tell me if I'm running out of time, so please. Sometimes I lose the oversight what the time consumption is. And let me talk about the passengers. I mean, all of us, we are all passengers. So you may find yourself, once we can travel again, I mean, we are in the pandemic now, everybody at home and safe. But once we can travel again, you will find yourself in a situation like this on this picture. So you are at the bottom left, the traveler, and you want to go from Hong Kong to another country, another city, whatsoever. So you already know, okay, I have to choose many different modes of transport. So the first step is, how do I get from home to the bus station? And then it will bring you to the train station, or it will bring you to the airport. So you may also need to use a taxi in between. And then once you achieve at your final destination, the same thing happens again. Jump on the train, the airport express, or whatever it is, find a taxi, get to your final destination. And as of now, we all know this, there are a lot of disruptions in this journey. So you really have to manage yourself. How do I find my next bus now? How do I pay for this Uber or whatever it is? How do I get a bicycle at the end if I want to ride a bike to my final destination? So this is a mess, and we want to solve this problem. So therefore, we said, okay, we cannot invent everything ourselves. So we were then screening the market, and we found a lot of very, very cool startup companies around the world, some of them even a little bit more advanced. And we integrated them into our business, and you can see some of the brand names on the right-hand side here. And those companies are the best in its class. So, and we are combining them to what we call a complete journey experience. And we may go to the next page now. And the aim is, of course, to get more people on public transport and to support then our sustainability targets. But I want to share with you how we're going to do this. Again, it's about platform economics. What we provide here is at the bottom, an open modular mobility operating system, where you can integrate all different modes of transport. And not only that, but also payment systems. So I was just the other day, I was checking how many apps do I have on my phone to plan my journey. I mean, even in Hong Kong, I have an app for KMB, for MTR. I have Google Maps, of course. I have Uber. I have taxi apps. This are already 5 or 6. And then for payment, I have Alipay, I have Apple Pay, I have Octopus. So we are at 9, and you may have some more, right? So it's easy. You have easily 10 apps on your phone, which are all not connected to each other to manage your daily travel experience. So, and we want to change this. So what we did is we put all of the services into one app, and with that we enable the traveler not only to plan the journey from A to B with different mode of transport, because we know all of this time schedules from the different operators, but also to pay for this. And not only in a static way that you do this from the beginning and hope for the best, but if you then say, okay, I want to stay here for half an hour, I want to have a coffee somewhere, it's a nice place, then of course your bus is gone. But then you may better off with a taxi or with an MTR. So the app will recognize this and will say, okay, I will schedule the ticket, cancel the ticket, reschedule your journey, and provide you another best option for your travel, for your journey, and then you move on in a very flexible way, all with one app. So, and this is not just a dream. Let me share with you where we did this already on the next slide. And you may not know this because this app, we are not selling under our brand name. Typically, this is a solution, we call it white labeling. We are giving the solutions to the operators. And yeah, we started in Germany with that because this is where our home base is. But then we sold the solution basically around the world. So you can see already here, the numbers as such are impressive. 200 million downloads of our apps. So those are the people who are using this combined services wherever they live. It is all over Europe, in between. Even the big operator, Deutsche Bahn, German Railways, it is under their brand name. So in the App Store, you can download this DB Navigator, but under the hood is a Siemens solution. So they are offering this door-to-door journey experience. So not only for their trains, but also they integrate then the taxis, the bike sharing, the buses, whatever you need to go from A to B. And by that, of course, they're promoting their own business because they get more people on their trains. But at the same time, they also support sustainability targets because people are not going on individual base anymore. So you can see here 100 million trips computed every day. Ticket revenue, 18 billion. So these are really big numbers in 25 countries. And now we want to bring this to Asia because we don't have the solution in Hong Kong, and we want to step into the market with the solution. And then on the next page, maybe I can give you some more insights. And actually, we are looking for partners in Hong Kong and data scientists and developers who can then integrate different solutions into this platform. So it would help a lot for Hong Kong, actually. I mean, think of Greater Bay Area. In Hong Kong, of course, I'm in Hong Kong for 8 years now. So I know where my buses are and my MTR station. So I don't need an app for this. But think of international travelers who are coming to Hong Kong. So they are lost once they may take the Airport Express, but once they offboard, then they're lost. So they need to, basically they are jumping on a taxi and hope for the best. But if we want to improve this, then we could have such an app on hand where they know exactly, okay, now I go here, my ticket is already pre-booked, I don't need Hong Kong dollars, it is already done. And that makes it much more convenient for them to go on this journey, and also for Hong Kongers who go to the Greater Bay. I mean, who knows how to behave in Guangzhou or in Shenzhen if you are not there on a regular base. And this app would help you a lot because then also those transport operators are integrated and can make it a really smooth and pleasant journey. So it is supporting the policy address, but also it is supporting our sustainability targets, and it is helping also the society of Hong Kong. We all know Hong Kong is an aging society, so, and also the elderly, they in the heat of the summer, it's not easy to get from where you live at home to the MTR station. even if this is only 800 meters or 1000 meters. So if you have then, in the best case, an autonomous shuttle who's picking you up at the doorstep and bringing you to the next station or to your final destination, then of course it would be a big improvement for the aging society and people with special needs and so on. Okay, now let me talk about, on the next page, an outlook, because many people are asking me, what is autonomous driving about? So this is an example that we introduced last year. We started with that in Hamburg, because there was a pilot project with the city of Hamburg. But this is an example of a fully autonomous, fully electric minibus. And I believe that is the future for Hong Kong. So for Hong Kong, I would not suggest to have autonomous vehicles for individuals. So like my Tesla might be autonomous, but it is not solving the problem for Hong Kong to have too many cars on the road. So there are still too many cars, even if they are autonomous. I would say the future is really having shared economy. So like a minibus, which you can call on demand with your phone, with the app that I introduced to you before. So it will come to your place where you're living, and it already knows you. It can greet you by your name if you like. And then you are boarding this minibus, and it will bring you then to the next MTR station or maybe to your final destination. And this is fully autonomous, safe, of course, fully electric, and is supporting our smart city targets in the best possible way. So I believe that can be a big contributor to Hong Kong. And now let's switch. I come to the end now, but for the last few slides, I want to talk about collaboration. And one important part, if we come to digital topics, is, and I need to mention this, is data privacy and cybersecurity. Because all of these solutions that I have mentioned before would not be attractive or not be accepted by the general public if we would not be able to ensure data privacy and cybersecurity. These are two very, very important topics. So if you have this app that I introduced to you on hand, then you need to trust that your data are private. I mean, nobody wants to share the data about your travel patterns other than the operator, which have to bring you from A to B, of course. So, but the same also for cybersecurity. You don't want anybody to take over an autonomous bus and to drive this to somewhere. So there must be cybersecurity also in place. What we do is right from the beginning, we are designing our systems for safety, security, and data privacy. So it doesn't help if you, at the end, after you finish your development, if you then say, okay, now I need a firewall and put this around, that will be enough. It's not, I can tell you. So it must be designed for security, safety and security right from the beginning. And that is where we have our competencies. And we need to convince people that these are safe systems. Otherwise, it will not be accepted. So this is what I want to mention here, because many of you are engineers. You will design systems in the future. So please have this always on your mind. Okay, now with that, I want to go to the next page, because here it's all about how do we do this? How do we bring innovation to a city like Hong Kong? So what we as a company, we decided to develop our systems not somewhere at the headquarters in Germany, in a whatever big R&D center. We still have the centers, but what we decided is to do this development really at the customer side. So in those cities where we believe we can make an impact, like in Hong Kong. So years ago, we started in Hong Kong and we implemented a co-creation center, one in Science Park and the other one next to our headquarters in Kwun Tong. And these are co-creation spaces where we have all of these digital platforms and competence, also data scientists in Hong Kong that we got from Hong Kong universities, by the way. And we are then also inviting our domain experts who knows everything about trains and interlocking and so on. And we are inviting startup companies, we are inviting academia, students, and of course customers. And they all sit together like in this picture, and they co-create solutions based on our platforms. But these are not ready-made. So we are taking, and now switch to the next page, please. We are taking a very agile, or you can say Scrum or agile approach, which is an incremental approach. So we always start with really what matters most to the people. So we take the Hong Kong citizen at the center, and we start with user stories. So what is the challenge of an elderly passenger who goes from A to B, or a visually impaired person? So what are their challenges in Hong Kong? So we really put our engineers on a journey together with them to witness their problems, and then later we ask ourselves, okay, how can technology help? So it's not that we push technology to the market, we put user stories at the center and then design solutions with the technology that we have. And that is what we do with different people, different domains. And then we go to the field, we validate this. So we are not waiting until years later until we have a very perfect product. We take this minimum viable product to the streets, and we are testing this. And then we are getting feedback. Sometimes it's not always perfect from the beginning. Sometimes people say, yeah, I don't like this because of this or that. And this is valuable feedback. We take this back to the lab, we integrate this, the next increment is better. And by that, we have customer feedback right from the beginning. We have the right people there, and we are much faster to the market than before. And we know it fits to Hong Kong because we have learned that we cannot just copy a solution from one city to the other. That doesn't work. Not with smart solutions in the future. And of course, later we want to scale this. And if it's successful in Hong Kong, then the concept can be then also taken to other places and will be adapted then in that place. So that is how we do this. And why we need people who are really open for co-creation and for collaboration. It's not that we have some super data scientist sitting in a lab and thinking of the solution. It is a lot of interaction and also feedback. Okay, let me go to the next to close my presentation with some examples, because what I mentioned to you, we actually did in Hong Kong in different cases. And one example on the top left is what we call smart junctions. So we got a small contract from Hong Kong government to implement a pilot where we put additional sensors into a street junction. Because the problem was, I mean, starting with the use case, that as a pedestrian, you were waiting for your green signal to cross the street while no cars were coming left and right. So, and we all know people behavior, you will wait maybe for 30 seconds, but not for a minute. So, and after 30 seconds, people just do jaywalking. So they cross the street on red, which is of course a safety risk. And the Hong Kong government was asking us, can we do something against it? And I said, yes, we can put more sensors in. So we are sensing people while they are waiting for the green signal. And if there are no other cars crossing the street, then we switch the signal for the passenger to green so that he doesn't need to wait anymore. That sounds simple, but I can tell you it's not. It's a technical challenge. But we developed a solution here for Hong Kong, and then we put this to the streets. And our engineers, they got a lot of feedback, because sometimes the motorists, they were complaining, why do I need to brake for a pedestrian? Because in Hong Kong, motorists always have priority, right? But if we want to change this, if we want to make Hong Kong a more a walkable city, so if we want to promote pedestrians with their needs, then motorists have to wait. So that is always a trade-off between, let's say, priorities. So what do we want in Hong Kong actually? Do we want to keep the right of way for motorists forever, or do we want to change this and give priorities to pedestrians? So the policy address is telling us pedestrians first, but it is a transformation, and the society needs to get used to it. But we have the technology now in place. So the technology can do a lot. At the end, it's about what we want technology to do. So again, it's about people. And I have some other examples here, like on the top right. This is a project also that we have with OGCIO and the Transportation Department. We got the contract to take many of the sensor data that we have already in Hong Kong, that the transportation department have, and to put this into a big data lake and to do data analytics so that we can make predictions about traffic pattern in Hong Kong under different scenarios. And this will be an open platform. So if you go to data.gov, there are already a lot of databases where you can work with as data scientist, but most of the data are static. And with this platform, once this goes public, it's not yet, we are in a testing phase now, but once this goes public, suddenly you as a data scientist, you have access to real-time data about Hong Kong. And this is the idea of Hong Kong government. You can then you can develop your own app for your specific solution, Hong Kong made, put this on the App Store, make your money with your business, and improve the same way the traffic situation for Hong Kong. So that is the idea. And we are providing a platform for it as a company. Well, yes, and there are many other ideas. I mean, this EATS, we will help the visually impaired person by digital means to cross the street, to give them the right indications and so on. I will stop here because I still think, Vivian, I lost the time. How much more time do we have? Do we still have a few minutes or? All right. Okay. So yeah, let's come to an end here. My last slides are just to open the floor, and maybe we switch to the next. Yes. So my wish is really, let's co-create the future of smart and sustainability together. I mean, it's really an invitation to all of the universities, to you in particular, the students, to work with us on the solutions. And if you have more questions, on the next page, there is a barcode, and later you will get the slides also available. So there are much more information about smart mobility and solutions. You can get in contact with us over different social media and channels. So don't be shy if you have questions. The last slide now is opening the floor for Q&A. I hope you have some questions now I can answer. If not, then just use the channels that we have. Come back to us, ask your questions, get engaged with us. I'm really interested in your ideas, what you believe we can do together, and to make this happen. So thank you everybody for listening to me. I hope it gave you some insights in the mobility domain and what we can do for sustainability targets in the future. And I hope for many questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, for a very rich presentation covering many topics. As you are presenting, I just have quite a few questions that I have. Now, based on your experience in Europe and America, in Hong Kong, what are the top 1 or 2 things Hong Kong should be doing in order to skim the low-hanging fruit, things we can get benefits quickly? Because in Hong Kong, 90% public transport, and then people in general do a lot of walking already. So what are the 1 or 2 things that you think we should think about?
I would say, as I mentioned this in between, I believe the future of Hong Kong is fully electric, fully autonomous, and shared in a way. And this can also lead us in Hong Kong to a more sustainable mobility. So if I think of the degree of automation, I guess we can do more. So to improve the traffic flow throughout the cities. So if we put more sensors in, and if we process the data in a more intelligent way, then we can improve the traffic flow, because Hong Kong, we cannot just build new streets, right? Or many more bridges or tunnels. Of course, Hong Kong can only drill tunnels, but there's a limit. So we need to make better use of the resources that we have. And this is with a higher degree of automation. This is for one. Second, the degree of autonomous vehicles. I mentioned this already. I don't believe in autonomous individual cars. I don't, because this will not reduce the number of cars in the streets. But I believe in in autonomous buses. And also, if we want to reduce the carbon footprint, then I think we need to do more for fully electric public transport. I mean, in Shenzhen, all the buses are electric. In Hong Kong, I don't know why, but we can do much more here. Just for example, or the taxis. It's still individual, but at least it's shared, so many people can use them. So the degree of electrification is a big topic. The degree of automation, and if you combine these two, then we would be much better off. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question in the chat box. Someone asked, it's easier to implement intermodal transportation in Europe. Hong Kong, mostly they're owned by, I don't know, transport provider. I guess suppose the private sector, right? Does Siemens find challenging to engage so many transport providers, you know, KMB, Citybus, MTR, minibuses, and so on?
Yes. So the answer is yes, but it's changing now. I mean, we started to promote this ideas years ago, and there was just no resonance with those providers, because they said, oh yes, you know, I feel I'm in competition with the other bus provider or with MTR, and I don't want to share my data. Now there are two things ongoing. One is there is some push from the government to share data. So there are a lot of data sharing initiatives, which is really a necessity, and that is what government is doing really good. So we are getting more and more real-time data from the operators because they have to. On the other hand, they also understood there's a benefit in this, because if we make it easier to choose one or the other mode of operation and to get more people on it, it will increase the ridership. And the third part of it is we are now convincing all of these operators that if they put their data in, it doesn't mean necessarily that this will be shared among all the other operators. So those data are really a competitive advantage to the operators. And with our solutions, we can make sure that this data set is not shared, but the combination of data. So if we then combine different modes of transport, this will be shared, but that means the same way we can protect the data set of the individual operator. And that is something probably was not clear in the beginning or was not as much as developed, but by now we have this. And that I'm pretty sure over this year, next year, the years to come, that will be a game changer for Hong Kong.
There's another question in the chat. What is Siemens' advantage over Chinese internet companies like Tencent and Alibaba in deploying solutions such as autonomous bus, masks in Asia and China?
Yeah. It's a valid question. Sometimes we are in competition, sometimes we are supplementing each other. Our benefit is that we are domain experts. So we know everything about transport, we know about the needs that the operators have, and we are making use of this domain knowledge on one hand. On the other hand, we are using technologies actually that will be provided by let's say Tencent, Alibaba, and the like. Let's say just Tencent is a big payment provider, so a payment system provider, right? So they are interested in getting onto our platform in order to increase also this kind of business model that they have. So it is sometimes it's a competition, sometimes it is a partnership. It depends really on the situation and where the dominance is of each of the players.
Okay, good. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box. I have another one because when we talk about electrifying the vehicles, we're still using power, and power is still mostly carbon. What is your view of changing a hydrogen fuel vehicles in Hong Kong and elsewhere? I think this is being practiced in Europe already, right?
I mean, there are some narrow applications for hydrogen. So hydrogen is not the answer to everything. Electrification is much more of a mainstream. So there are some, let's say, applications where hydrogen is good, but the problem with hydrogen is really the storage of hydrogen, the transport, and then how to fill the hydrogen into the vehicle. So this is a kind of problem that we need to solve, but that is also then directing us to, let's say, use cases where it really makes sense. So it might not be then on the individual base where hydrogen plays a role, but for a train operator. And I had this, one of the slides, I gave you this example, a regional train operator in Germany. So they found hydrogen is the best solution for them because they could already reduce the energy consumption by 20%. Electric battery was not a solution for them for reasons. So for such niche applications, I would say it works, but the mainstream definitely is fully electric. So battery powered.
Okay. Just another question. What do you think are the most important skills and knowledge to further develop smart mobility?
I like that question.
AI and big data.
Well, you may say, of course, but I mean, say AI, big data, Python, and so on. This is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Sufficient skills are soft skills, interpersonal skills. So you really need to have an open heart and an open eye for the problems of people in the streets. If you only talk about technology, sorry, then you may miss the point. But if you're open for people and for also interacting with developer teams around the world, and this is a global game now, so you need to be open, and there will not be one development team in one place working on the solution. So in our company case, we are working with teams around the world, and we bring them also over the distance by all this virtual means that we have now. We invite them to Hong Kong, and we are working with them on solutions. Of course, I have my Hong Kong local engineers here, so to talk to the customers day by day. But there is a lot of expert knowledge at the back end, and this is all about people. So please let me emphasize also on social skills.
Last question, anyone? Give a chance to the audience, anyone? You can ask directly or you can type. If not, I have one more question. I'm just very interested. In a tech company like Siemens, what drives the R&D process? Do you have internal funding to do R&D, or do you get on a project and then do your R&D afterwards? Let's say you get a contract to do a high-speed train and then you develop technology, or you have the technology first and then you bid on high-speed train. The chicken and egg problem, how do you?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned R&D, that consists of research and development.
Yes.
So for research, we have a budget, because this you will not get paid by the customers. Right. For development, it is a hybrid. If it is about platform development, so a platform that we share among many companies, then it will be a budget again. And Siemens is spending roughly 7–8% of the entire business volume on R&D, which is a lot among our industry. So say Siemens is whatever at 70–80 billion US turnover. Take 8%, then you know how many billion we spend on research and platform development. And then the customer specific development we do on project budget.
I see. So do you have an internal process to select research projects?
Yes.
Do you run a call for proposal and things like that?
Yes. So yes, we have a very big corporate development team. Thousands of really PhD grade bright minds around the world. They're not only sitting in Germany, they're in Princeton, they're in China, in many places, Shanghai, Beijing, and other places, Israel, if it comes to security, and all of this. So and those people, they work along kind of roadmaps, R&D roadmaps, and this research roadmaps, they are very close to what I introduced in the beginning, the mega trends of the industry. So they are looking in future technologies, processes, material science, of course, I mean, the next generation of computing, I mean, and they are developing the over next technology cycle. They're working on this, and not only technology, but also they take a lot of. They're also sitting in standardization bodies to really influence the industry and to set the standard of the future. So this is also a big part of research activities and our corporate development to influence policies and so on.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions. Really appreciate you spending almost an hour and a half, more than that, with us. A very rich and very thoughtful kind of presentation. I thank you very much. And so I hope that we can collaborate, find some topics to deepen the discussion. Maybe you can find some students or intern from our engineering school so that we can co-create different kinds of scenarios and solutions. I'm sure many students will be interested.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, please get in contact with us. We are really here in Hong Kong for Hong Kong, and we want to do the solutions with Hong Kongers first and foremost. And then we have a big team in our back around the world who is helping us with this. But yeah, that is our objective. Okay, thank you. So let's. I know you cannot hear the applause from the audience, but they all thank you very much. I just hear someone in the chat box, thank you very much, and all night in New York City, they appreciate your talk. So it's good to hear someone from New York actually listening. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. To the professors here for giving me the opportunity. It was really a pleasure sharing. I mean, it was just scratching the surface, but I hope you got an impression of what we are doing. Yes. And please come and join us, and then we do this together. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye bye.